This is Joshua Hart here for Seconds Out. Delighted today to be joined by Kevin Lerena here over Zoom. Kevin, first of all, like I just said off camera, thank you very much for your time today. And how is everything doing, man?
All good. All's going good with me. Taking over, staying in the gym, working hard. Thank you for asking.
It's always a pleasure. We'll get straight into things before we dive into the big talk in the boxing world, and we'll start off by talking about yourself. Have you got an update to tell us about your next fight, when we can next see Kevin Lerena in the ring?
To be honest, I don't. I'm still waiting to hear what's happening with the WBC mandatory fight against Lawrence Okolie. I'm not sure what's happening at the moment or when it's going to take place. It's obviously been ordered by the WBC, but I'm just waiting for confirmation on when it's going to take place and whether Okolie is going to be fighting bridgerweight or heavyweight. So I'm pretty much in the dark, but I'm staying in the gym, working hard. You know, when the opportunity comes and the call comes, I'll be ready.
And apart from Lawrence Okolie, let's say that fight isn't to get materialized next, who would be your target that you'd like to see yourself in the ring with?
Look, I think there's a lot of fights at the heavyweight division, especially that could be made. You know, obviously in bridgerweight, there's a few names that I'd like to fight. One being Lawrence Okolie, but there's no one else really that gives me credit. You know what I mean? I fought Ryan Murray already. I've beaten him already. Um, Jared Anderson, you know, he had a tough outing against Martin Bakole. I still think he's a good fighter, but I still believe that I'll beat him. I believe my fight with Justice Hooney, you know, I went down on the scorecards 96-94. I still believe I did enough to win that fight, maybe even have it as a draw. But there's lots of fights that could happen in the heavyweight division. They just need to offer me a fight, and you know, I always take it, never back down from nobody. Fought some of the strongest guys, you know, Daniel Dubois, to name a few. So I'm ready whenever they give me an opportunity. I'm ready.
So does your future still sit at heavyweight unless it's Lawrence Okolie for the WBC Bridgerweight World Title?
Yeah, of course. Obviously, the WBC Bridgerweight, it's gaining traction and needs to get a bit more notoriety, but I still believe it's a good weight division. You know, like cruiserweight was brought into the sport many years ago. It's kind of the same thing for Bridgerweight. It's that gap between the massive heavyweights and the cruiserweights. But it's all about who's the champion. Right now, Lawrence Okolie is the champion. I'm the interim champion, manager challenger. So it makes for a good fight, right? Because Lawrence Okolie and I have both been cruiserweight world champions in the past. Makes for a good bridgerweight fight. And I think it's always a good gateway to heavyweight fights because at the end of the day, even though it's labeled the bridgerweight world title, let's not forget the heavyweights fighting. You know, guys weighing in at 101, we're probably going to be on the mark 106, 107 because that's what we fight at. And so it's heavyweights fighting, just I think for a different belt, which is a division that's taken off by the WBC and I believe now the WBA as well.
So if it is Lawrence Okolie next for yourself, what do you feel you need to do to beat him and become the WBC Bridgerweight World Champion?
I just need to fight how I fight, to be honest, Josh. I just need to fight how I fight. I believe you know, our styles are very different. You know, Lawrence is a good, big, lengthy, rangy puncher. He's got a hell of a good punch. You know, Lawrence is a good fighter. I've always rated Lawrence, but I also rate myself and I believe in myself and I know what I need to do. And I believe when the level of opposition is up there, I rise to the occasion and I deliver. And that's just what I want to do. So whether it's Lawrence Okolie, whether it's anybody in the heavyweight division, I think I'm coming into myself. You know, my last fight was a gutsy performance, you know, based on the circumstances that I had to deal with. But that's a thing of the past now. We need to move forward and see what we can do to get a win again. Unfortunately, I lost. I went down on the scorecards, but I didn't lose disgracefully. I lost graciously, should we say, if you can call it a gracious loss. And I'm just ready to get back in the winners column.
Well,
I'm hungry.
I'm sure that you gained a lot of fans, especially like you mentioned the circumstances during the fight week of your last fight. I'm sure I speak for all boxing fans when we say it was a great performance from yourself. Um,
Thank you.
it's always well, you're welcome. We'll move forward. We'll talk about a former opponent of yours in Daniel Dubois. He's set to take on Anthony Joshua at Wembley Stadium in September. Obviously, you've shared the ring with Daniel. You know what he's like. How do you see that fight playing out?
I think it's a genuine 50-50 fight, you know. It's a fight that goes either way at any given time. And I know a lot of people are going to be saying that, right? And a lot of people are going to say, well, they both can punch, they both can this, they both can that, which is obvious. They're big, they're strong heavyweights. But just look at where their careers stand currently. Anthony Joshua has made a terrific comeback after his Usyk losses. You know, yes, he hasn't faced the quality of opponents that Daniel Dubois has. However, with whoever's been put in front of him, he's dismantled them. He's done a demolition job on all of them. He's done what he needs to do, and he's riding the crest of a wave, and his confidence is sky high. Now, you look at Daniel Dubois. Since he beat me, he lost to Usyk. He's overcome adversity. In the fight with me, he had to overcome adversity, getting off the canvas and rallying back to beat me, you know? Okay, he overcame adversity there. He fought Usyk in a fight that many thought that he beat Usyk with a body shot. Whether it was a body shot or not, who knows? But he overcame adversity again because he got stopped in that fight. He then came back, he beat Jarrell Miller, he smashed Jarrell Miller, and he smashed Hrgović. And to be honest, I thought when he fought Hrgović, I genuinely thought Daniel Dubois will beat him, but I didn't think like that. He showed a lot of grit, and he's coming to himself. So it's a fight of two halves. You've got two guys whose confidence is sky high, who have both, I wouldn't say coming to their own. AJ is well established. He's a superstar. He's a very strong fighter. He's a terrific. Of the two, I think maybe AJ is a better boxer, but I think they both can bang. And I think Daniel Dubois got a very good deceptive jab. And if he gets his jab going, it can be a hard night for AJ. But in the same light, based on Daniel's last performance, he did eat a lot of right hands from Hrgović. Now, you can't eat those punches against Anthony Joshua. You cannot. You cannot afford to let one of those shots land on his chin. So it's a fight of, it can go either way. Both are riding the crest of the wave. It's a fight that is perfect for the UK fans and the world boxing fans. And I commend both teams for making that fight because it's big for boxing, and that's what boxing needs. And it also shows you that AJ's had to come back in his own way. Yes, he lost to Usyk at the pinnacle for all the marbles, but he had to face adversity and come back from those losses. The same for Daniel Dubois. So it's a very similar fight in terms of trajectories, and may the best man win.
Something that's been a big talking point with Daniel Dubois over the last few years is his mentality, and as of late, the improved mentality. And you mentioned his grit and showing grit in these fights. Do you believe his mentality let him down a little bit at times when you faced him?
I don't know. I don't know him well enough, so I don't know what he's like outside of those lockdowns or outside of the ring. Against me, he was clearly and obviously hurt from the shot on the temple. You know, he was taking a knee. You can't say he was quitting against me. We went down 3 times. You could maybe say he was biding time to get to see the next round. Maybe something that I should have done when I was knocked down. I got up so quickly that my equilibrium was still off. Maybe I should have taken a longer count. Maybe I should have taken a knee. You know, there's so many things you can look at. I think in the fight with Usyk, you know, after the same for me and Daniel. Put it this way. When I knocked Daniel down, he took a knee 3 times. I was like over the moon. I was shocked at what was happening. I thought the fight's done. Then I went back to the corner, the fight reset, and I fell into the trap and I got caught. Now you say to yourself, when Daniel caught Alexander Usyk, and Daniel now assumed that that's a knockdown, the ref's going to count. Then the ref didn't count, and Usyk got time to recover and started finding his rhythm. That almost knocks wind out your sails, and that could have happened against Usyk. That he had so much taken from him when that wasn't ruled a knockdown that he came out and the wind was out of his sails, and he just got beaten mentally, which led to physically, emotionally, and I wouldn't say he gave up. He got caught, and he said, "You know what? I'll come back another day." When you look back at his fight with Joe Joyce, I don't think you can call that quitting. I think he had a very serious injury. You know, the man's got to realize we're in there to earn a living and to get back to our families. And if he felt the injury was limiting his performance, he did what he needed to do. At the end of the day, I say, look where Joe Joyce is now and look where Daniel Dubois is. Daniel Dubois surpassed what Joe Joyce has achieved, and he's gone on to do a lot more, and he's in mega fights. So it just shows you never give up. I don't think he's a quitter, to be honest. I do think that maybe when the going gets tough, you know, he's come on a bit in the sense of as he's gotten older, his grit and his threshold has increased. Maybe so. You know, when I caught him and he went down. But at the end of the day, we fighters, and when we get caught, we get caught. There's sometimes nothing we can do. And how we react to it's different and all different within the moment. I mean, we saw AJ go down against Andy Ruiz. He rallied back and then beat Ruiz. So listen, it's heavyweight boxing. You know, the guys are big enough, strong enough, and a lot of the guys hit hard enough, and some harder than others, do real damage. So it's a fight that can go either way. And I don't think questioning a man's grit or his, I don't know what's the right word for it, or his will to win is there. I think everybody just finds themselves maybe later than others, you know, and I still feel that I'm still finding myself. You know, I've only had 34 professional fights, and I've never had an amateur fight. Most of the guys that I've fought have had these massive amateur pedigrees. They've had a heap of experience. So everyone's faced with different challenges, and yeah. So I think it's a great fight for the public. I can't stick my neck out. I think it could be a fight of each of them go down at any given time in the fight, and then somebody will be laid out. So don't know who it's going to be, but I do believe that it will be an exciting fight, and I think it's going to be a barn burner from the first bell.
Obviously, you mentioned not labeling Dubois as a quitter, and I'm sure for the people that were labeling, he has very much proved them wrong. But since that fight and since the losses that he's had, we've seen not just an increase in his grit and will to win in the ring, but also his confidence at press conferences. You know, we can see him really getting stuck into his opponent now before the fight's even started.
Yeah.
How has Daniel Dubois' mentality improved, in your opinion, since he fought you?
Look, I mean, I think at the time of our fight, he was only 24, 25, if I'm not mistaken. His mentality, I think he's a lot more tuned into the job at hand. He knows what he needs to do to get better. He knows what his weaknesses are. He knows what his strengths are. And I believe he's maybe working hard on his weaknesses. And also credit to him when he changed trainers. I think that trainer that he's training with now is maybe suited him better. You know, his previous trainer, I think Shane McQuiggan's a very good trainer, but maybe they didn't gel. So now he's got a trainer that he's gelling with, and we can see it in his performances. But the same goes for AJ. I think since AJ's teamed up with Ben Davidson, he's knocking guys out. He's become a wrecking ball again, the old AJ. So you know what? I think sometimes you just got to gel with that person, and you learn how to deal with things better. And I think that's what we could say for Daniel as well as for AJ. Maybe the ability to deal with things better, to deal with the pressures better, to deal with the magnitude of the fights are better. So that's why I said it makes for a very good fight. You got two guys whose confidence is here, two guys with new trainers, and trainers who've done good for them, I think, in my opinion.
So you kind of already answered my next question. My next question was going to be, how much do you feel Anthony Joshua has improved since joining up with Ben Davison?
Look, AJ has always been established, man. He's an Olympian. He's a heavyweight world champion from when? I think 2000, and I think 2016 or whatever it was, 17, I think he won a world title. He's been around for a very long time, and he's fought the very best too. His resume is not a shady one at all. He's fought the best. So you say to yourself, how they've improved under their trainers. I think those trainers can only teach them so much, but maybe those trainers are bringing out the best in them. Maybe that trainer that AJ's with, Ben Davidson, is now bringing out the best of Anthony Joshua, the best that Anthony Joshua's got to deliver. And the same for Daniel. Maybe Don Charles is bringing the best out of Daniel Dubois. And that's what you want. You want the trainer to bring the best out of you, and also your ability to learn something new from that trainer. You're going to learn a lot from your trainers. Don't get me wrong. You need a trainer, but these guys are fighters. They're natural fighters. When the bell goes, a lot of the plans sometimes can go out the window, and we fight on instinct. We fight on natural ability. But it's what they do behind the scenes. And I think Ben Davidson for Anthony and Don Charles for Daniel Dubois is maybe bringing out the best in both of them. That's what makes it a good fight.
And then there's been a few claims around Anthony Joshua's name over recent time, I'd say since the Andy Ruiz fight, but a lot of fighters and a lot of the public are claiming that he's got a fragile chin. What do you make of those claims around his name?
It's heavyweight boxing, you know. I thought I had a grandma chin until I found myself on my ass against Daniel Dubois for the first time in my 10-year professional career. When a good shot lands, and it's in the heavyweight division, you can get buzzed at any given time. So for people claiming that AJ doesn't have a chin, well, what's a good chin? I'd say what a good chin is at heavyweight, the chin that doesn't get hit. That's a good chin. Because when the guys are over 100 kilograms, I don't know what that is in stone, but over 220 pounds, throwing long right hands down the pipeline with force and power, You know, there's no such thing as a good chin. I think we've seen over the years guys that absorb a lot of punches and are known to be tougher and are known to be strong. Eventually, that all goes, right. That all weathers, and you don't have that anymore. I think it's not a tough man sport. As Mike Tyson said, it's a smart man sport, and that goes in the heavyweight division. If you can avoid getting hit and avoid taking those massive shots, that's a good chin, because at any given time you can get put on your ass, you know?
And then just moving forward, there's a big rematch coming up in December between Alexander Usyk and Tyson Fury. Obviously, we had the split decision victory for Usyk in May. How do you see it unfolding in the rematch?
It's tough to say, you know. I think both guys need to make changes, because I think both guys realize that they found a respect for one another in the square circle. Obviously, I'm big behind Tyson Fury. You know, I was in Tyson Fury's camp, and I will remain in his camp. Tyson's been very good to me. His team, Spencer, Frank Warren, George Warren have been very good to me. So I always back Tyson Fury, and I hope he wins the rematch, to be honest. But having said that, you know, you can't say a bad thing about Alexander Usyk. He also seems like a gentleman of the sport. I have never met him, to be honest. I've never worked with him, but I've worked with Tyson Fury. So Tyson Fury's also afforded me a lot of opportunity to get on that Riyadh season card. And I think it was a fight of two halves, to be honest. I think Tyson in the first half, Alexander Usyk in the second half, and then Alexander capitalized when he buzzed Tyson a bit. Tyson did phenomenal to stay on his feet. I don't know how he did that. Obviously, yes, the ropes possibly kept him up, but still, sheer grit, sheer determination, big bottle, big heart, big balls, you know, all of it. And it's going to be an interesting fight, because the first one was really close. Split decision, yes, it was very close. I think when I watched it live, I was there in Saudi, obviously, because my interest was watching it from a Tyson Fury point of view. I thought Tyson did enough. When I watched it back on the TV, I said, okay, I could see how the judges gave it as a split decision to Usyk. But having said that, I think if Tyson changes a few things and does a few things that he does really well, Tyson Fury, I think he beats Alexander Usyk. But two great craftsmen and boxers of our era will go head to head on the 21st of December. But obviously, I'm in Team Fury's camp, and I want Tyson to win.
What
I
is
think
it?
it's also good if he wins.
What is
It's
it
good if
like
he wins.
sparring with Tyson Fury? Obviously, you mentioned being part of the camp, especially for someone like yourself. You mentioned obviously being professional without having much of an amateur career. How much can you take away from sharing rounds with such a great heavyweight in Tyson Fury?
Yeah, you learn a lot. You know, obviously Tyson being a big rangy guy, he uses his reach and his range well. His ring generalship and ring IQ is really good. But it's sparring, you know, he's obviously working on a game plan for a specific fighter. So I don't think you win sparring rounds, to be honest. You can, don't get me wrong, as a fighter, you can go in there and smash one another up, and well, he won that round, he won that round. But if you're truly working towards a game plan, you know, how things fall out in sparring is very different. Yes, we're throwing punches. Yes, we're putting it on each other. But I learned a lot from Tyson. You know, he's got a good ring IQ. His movement's very good for a big man. And one thing I did realize with Tyson, if you stop to almost think and allow him to do his thing, you're going to have a problem. If you're putting pressure, you're putting pressure. You're either in or you're out. There's no middle ground. Otherwise, he'll keep you honest. You know, behind that long jab, he really throws a very nice right uppercut. He picks the guys up nicely, and he caught Usyk with that right uppercut, if I'm not mistaken, in the fight. I did say to my trainer, I said, listen, Tyson throws a very good uppercut, especially from inside and from that distance. So that will be a shot that will work on Usyk, and it was working in the fight. So I'd like him to do more of that. But also, I think when Tyson's going forward and he's putting the smaller guy backwards, it's very hard to fight a man like that, to be honest. He's big, he's got size, he's got strength, he's got reach, and he's got ring IQ. So his ring generalship's phenomenal. So makes a hard night for anybody, whether you're big or small.
What would you say his greatest attribute is in all the rounds you've shared with him? What has been that one move that he's got in his locker that is just better than the rest?
He's got a very good eye. He's got a very good eye and good distance control. When Tyson Fury switched on and turned on, very seldom you can get in on that distance control. He throws it from a distance there where you think he's out, he's in. When you think he's in, he's out. So I'd say two things. He's got a very good eye and great distance control.
Kevin, thank you very much for your time this afternoon. It's been a pleasure, and hopefully we get some big fight news for yourself soon. Thank you.
Hoping so too. Thanks, Josh. Look after yourself. Cheers, bro.